Good evening, everybody. It is Tuesday, October 24th, 2023, and we are live here on multiple platforms. Live right now on YouTube, Twitch, Facebook, also live on Instagram. So thanks so much for those tuning in. I'm on just my main page, not my sports page. I just thought I'd try to get it to as many followers at once. But we are live. Just want to do kind of a brief show tonight. Nothing special, no watch parties, anything like that. But as always, your comments, questions are more than welcome. And we will make sure to answer those if you have any or if you kind of want to bring anything up. Let me try to see if we can pump this out as well to people. All right. Perfect. Well, thank you so much for those that are joining live or that are watching this on repeat. Do greatly appreciate it wherever you may be watching from. Make sure as well to, if you have not done so already, give me a follow, like, subscribe to the page wherever you are. You can also follow my Twitter at BigSiege3113 or X, whatever you want to call it. It's the same thing. Hopefully the audio sounds good on if you are watching on Instagram. Because I don't have a mic connected to my phone. It's just connected to my PC for the stream. So, but yeah, let's dive right into this. You can see the title tonight for those watching on any platform other than Instagram. And that's the NFL Week 8 will kick off on Thursday. And also the NBA regular season begins this evening. We got two games tonight. The early game of the two, Lakers and the defending champion Denver Nuggets, which still feels weird to say. Never in my lifetime, to be perfectly blunt and honest, did I ever think I would be saying NBA champion Denver Nuggets. Those were just never words that I imagined ever coming out of my mouth. But I also never imagined them to ever have a player the caliber of Nikola Jokic. But they certainly do. And he's incredible. And he showed that during that playoff run last year. But we've got that game first, and then again, the Suns and Warriors are the nightcap of the evening. But I just kind of wanted to quickly dive in. We have a really, really good week 8 in the NFL coming up. First game of the week, as always, Thursday on Amazon Prime. That game will be Tampa Bay and Buffalo. Now, these are two teams in Tampa Bay and Buffalo that are very interesting because I think they're both kind of in a little bit of a rut right now. I think they're both teams that should, to be honest, win their divisions. The Bills have a guy in Josh Allen who's, arguably a top 3 quarterback in the NFL. They have an offense that's extremely explosive. They've had a ton of injuries on defense, though. I mean, you could argue that outside of Josh Allen, they've lost their best player in Matt Milano. They've lost Tre'Davious White. They did finally get Von Miller back. That should have been a boost, but really ugly loss against the Patriots. And, if you're a Bills fan, you've got to be confused right now as to what's going on with your team. That's a very ugly loss. The Patriots have been nothing short of atrocious so far this season. Yet you're losing to them. It's a tough thing to swallow, I'm sure, if you're a Bills fan. But you also, you look at the Buccaneers, kind of in a similar situation, right? A team that again should probably win its division. They should win the NFC South probably without a whole lot of trouble. At the beginning of the year, I kind of thought the South was wide open, and it still definitely is. It's still anybody's division except the Panthers. That they're definitely not throwing their hat into that ring anytime soon. But Tampa Bay, Baker Mayfield's had a great season. They lose to Atlanta though on Sunday, and they lose their first place spot in their division. The Falcons overtake them there. So kind of two teams that are really trying to find themselves, and this will be a huge game for their seasons. Coming off a short week, you talk to any player in the NFL, and those short weeks are tough, man. You only got 3 days basically to prepare your body and your mind for another game, and that's got to be difficult. And we know it is difficult. Based on what players have said about that short week and kind of how it is to play on Thursdays. But it is what it is. That's what'll get us kicked off. Giants, Jets, another big one for both of those teams. Giants coming off a very big win for them against the Commanders. A division game, a tough game that they won 14-7. Tyrod Taylor did start. So it's something that we'll have to see there. The Jets obviously playing a little better with Zach Wilson coming off their bye week. And basically a home game for both teams. The Giants are listed as the home team, but they both get to use their own locker rooms. Nobody has to use the guest locker room since they both have their own separate locker rooms in that stadium. Should be a fun one there as well. And then we keep kind of going on, the rest of these games here. Jaguars Steelers should be another good one from Pittsburgh. Jaguars are favorites in that game. I like Jacksonville to win that one. I think that, as good as the Steelers defense is, and as much of a game wrecker as TJ White is, the Jaguars are for real. The Jaguars are for real, and I really think that they're starting to find something. Travis Etienne is absolutely on fire. That's something that you've got to look at as well. Eagles Commanders. Eagles will probably roll fairly easily in that one. I don't think that there's probably going to be much of a contest there. Rams Cowboys should be a good one in Jerry World. That should be a fun one there. Where my allegiances lie, I'm sure. That's with the Cowboys. So, they're coming off a bye week. I expect Cooper Kupp to probably have a huge game, but I do think the Cowboys should win that game. Now, that's not to say they will, but I do think that they should win that game. It is at home. Dak plays incredibly well at home, especially. CeeDee Lamb had a really, really good game the last time that we saw the Cowboys. They really kind of force-fed him the football the way that they should, and we kind of saw the results there. Dak played a very, very clean game, very, very efficient game, like he seems to do the majority of the times, even though the narrative isn't that because he's the quarterback of America's team, the Dallas Cowboys. Vikings, Packers. The Vikings are starting to find something. We kind of wrote the Vikings off and kind of said that they should just sit Justin Jefferson the rest of the year. They should trade Kirk Cousins, but they're really starting to play really well. Packers are really struggling right now, though. So, I think that's a perfect spot for the Vikings to go into Lambeau and still win on the road. NFC North matchup. Those are always fun. Haven't looked at the weather, but, it is late October in Green Bay, Wisconsin. It's very possible it could be a very cold night. Or a very cold, I guess it's afternoon. It's a 1 o'clock Eastern game. Falcons, Titans, that should be another good one. Two teams that are kind of, I wouldn't call them bad teams. I wouldn't call them good teams. The Falcons are in first place in the NFC South right now. But, we'll kind of see how that one goes. It is in Tennessee. So we'll see how that one turns out as well. We got Dolphins, Patriots. Always a fun one when the Patriots go to Miami. For some reason, no matter how good Patriots teams have been in the past, it seems that for whatever reason they go to Miami and they really struggle. And, honestly, I expect the same. Miami's incredible. They obviously took a loss against the Eagles, who are, a fantastic football team. Some would argue the best in the league. I still probably have them second behind Kansas City. But that's going to be another fun one there, between the Patriots and the Dolphins. I think the Dolphins will probably get things back on track. Patriots will roll back down to earth after their big win against the Patriots. But I do think that'll be a fun one down in Miami. I think that could be, it could be a close game. The Patriots still have a pretty good defense. So we'll kind of see how that one goes. Next one, Saints Colts. I expect a pretty ugly game here. I think that there may be quite a bit of turnovers in this game. You got two quarterbacks that, the Saints really kind of found something at the end of that last game there. You kind of saw the offense under Carr, make kind of a late push on that Thursday night game against Jacksonville. But, the Colts are at home. They also have a backup quarterback, in Gardner Minshew, because Anthony Richardson out for the season. But we'll see how that one goes. That could be an interesting one as well. But I think I like the Saints on the road in that one. The Colts are just not a good football team. So I'm going to go ahead and choose the Saints there. We got Panthers-Texans. Now, this is an interesting one. The reason I say that, the Panthers get a starting offensive lineman back this week. They haven't protected Bryce Young well all season. I think for the circumstances and the situation that Bryce Young has been in, I don't think he's played poorly. But if you look at the other team with the Texans are 3-3 right now. The Texans are still very much alive in the playoff race. Obviously, still very, very, very early in the season. We're only at week 8 of the season. So anything could happen the rest of these games with the Texans. They could completely fall apart. But, I mean, C.J. Stroud's been everything he was advertised to be. I like the Texans on the road in that one. I do think the Panthers could keep it interesting. They are playing at home. It is going to be an emotional day for them. They have a couple guys going into their Ring of Honor. Julius Peppers and I can't remember who else. I apologize, but I do like the Texans to get the road win there. Browns Seahawks should be another really good game. Starting the afternoon games at 4:05. That should be a fun one. It's in Seattle. Probably arguably the best crowd in the NFL. Browns have had the best defense in the league. You don't know if Deshaun Watson's going to play. That's kind of the thing that maybe makes this game a little less intriguing, just because you may have to watch, PJ Walker play quarterback again. And, he did go out and get a huge win against the 49ers a couple weeks ago, but he is still a backup quarterback. So you never know how that could go there. But I do see the Browns getting that win. The Seahawks getting that win at home. I don't think, unless Deshaun Watson plays, I don't give the Browns much of a chance to go into Seattle. The only thing that'll keep them in that game, like it is going to all season, is going to be their incredible defense. Myles Garrett and the boys are just ridiculously good. Bengals-Niners. Another very, very interesting matchup. The Bengals starting to kind of find themselves again as well after really struggling early in the season. Joe Burrow's finally healthy. Jamar Chase is on fire. They're also coming off of a bye week this week. So that should be, interesting to see how they've prepared for this 49ers team. This 49ers team has lost 2 games in a row. They lost to the Browns, and then, last night in that Monday night game against Minnesota. So you don't really know, is Trent Williams going to play? We don't know yet. Is Deebo Samuel going to be available this week? We don't know. Christian McCaffrey did play last week. He did, last night he did score a touchdown. Didn't look like he was too bothered by the oblique injury. But he really didn't take a ton of, big hits to the midsection. He really, was careful on that about, not taking any big hits. He wasn't really put in any type of a situation to do so. So we'll have to see how that works, and how that goes. If he is, does get in a situation against the Bengals. He hadn't taken any contact all season. All week in practice leading up to last night's game. So we'll have to see if it continues to heal, or, the word out of San Francisco is that they're not that concerned about the injury. So that could be, a good thing going forward. He may just be able to mostly rest this week and come back for the game against Cincinnati. It is in Santa Clara, so I do probably like the Niners to bounce back and not lose their third game in a row. I think Brock Purdy will play better. They are at home. I would assume they'll have Deebo Samuel back. That'll be a big deal. I think that the Niners will get the win there. Broncos Chiefs will be an absolute dumpster fire of a game. The Chiefs should win that game by double digits, even though it is in Denver. I'm going to turn the Instagram stream off here, guys. Okay, perfect. I do think that the Chiefs will go in and very easily win that game. Ravens Cardinals in Arizona. Ravens are really starting to play well as well. That's another team that's kind of on fire right now. Lamar Jackson is playing at, you could say, an MVP level. He's been terrific in these last couple of weeks, looking like he's throwing darts out there. He's an absolute pocket passer these last couple of weeks with incredible athletic ability. He hasn't been a run first guy like we've seen in the past. I do like the Ravens to probably win big in that game. Bears Chargers should be interesting. The Chargers may find a way to lose a close game like they seemingly do every single week. But we are also probably not going to see Justin Fields. The Chargers are getting to play at SoFi, which hasn't seemed to make that much of a difference for him, to be perfectly honest, because it does seem like the road team tends to travel extremely well and have a pretty big presence in that arena no matter what. But I do like the Chargers in this one on a Sunday night to be able to get this win. Raiders Lions, the Monday night game. Lions coming off a really, really embarrassing loss to the Ravens. Now, nothing against the Ravens. Like I said, the Ravens are a good football team and they're really, really playing well right now. But, the Lions, this was a big game for them to go into Baltimore. You had a lot of Detroit fans make the trip to Baltimore, and they disappointed. They disappointed big time. I do think that they will bounce back though on a Monday night, get a win against the Raiders. It is in Detroit. They play pretty well at home, even when they're not that good. So I do see the Lions getting that win over the Raiders. Lots of big games in college football this weekend as well. College game day will be in Salt Lake City for the Utah and the Oregon game. That should be a great game. Utah coming off another win against little brother USC. That should be a fun one. I kind of want to briefly touch on something when it does come to USC, though. And this is something that I noticed that other people have probably mentioned, something somewhat similar to what I'm going to. Does it look like to you guys that Caleb Williams' teammates like him? Because to me, it doesn't look like they rally around him in any way whatsoever. What I see from Caleb Williams is this. When the going is tough, instead of him, trying to fire up his teammates or, trying to do anything, I see him go to the bench and I see him pout. And I see that rubbing off on his teammates, and I don't see any teammates trying to come over and fire him up at all. There have been a lot of reports that have come out about Caleb Williams saying that he and his agent are already talking to NFL teams, saying to some teams, "Hey, don't draft me. We want nothing to do with your team." Telling other teams, "Hey, when you draft me, as part of my contract, I want partial ownership of a team." There's just been a lot of stuff floating out there about Caleb Williams, and he's not playing well. This is 2 weeks in a row that he has not shown up in big moments. Now, give credit to Notre Dame and give a lot of credit to Utah as well. Kyle Whittingham, if he coached anywhere except Utah, would be widely regarded as one of the best coaches in college football. I think he flies under the radar a little bit. USC fans will probably remember that when that job was available, when Clay Helton was fired, Kyle Whittingham's name was floated out there, and Kyle Whittingham was able to say no to that job with fairly easily. He wanted nothing to do with that job because he wanted to stay in Utah and finish out his career there. And I think it's worked out for him. I think he's won 2 Pac-12 championships, one against USC last year. He's won 4 in a row against USC, 3 while Lincoln Riley's been there. But Caleb Williams, man, it just seems very odd to me. He has all the talent in the world, but he's not a leader in any way, shape, or form. He is not a leader. He wasn't a leader at Oklahoma. He hasn't been a leader at USC. And his coach isn't doing many favors either, because his coach isn't that much of a leader either, if you want my perfect honest opinion on that. I think a lot of Oklahoma fans would agree with me on that as well. But not a lot of reaction tonight, you guys. So I'm going to go ahead and just end the show early here. We do have one viewer I do see on Facebook. If you have anything you wanted to add, I'm not sure how long you've been in, but if there's anything you did want to add to what we've talked about, we've touched on the NFL. We've touched on opening night in the NBA this evening. We've touched on Utah USC. From this weekend, talked about Caleb Williams a little bit. We also talked about the upcoming slate of college football games. So a lot to get to, a lot to see this weekend and tonight. Also, NLCS Game 7 tonight to see what our World Series is going to be, whether it's going to be the Diamondbacks against the Rangers or whether it's going to be the Phillies against the Rangers. Thank you. Thank you, Rangers, for beating Houston. I cannot stand the Houston Astros. I think they're a disgrace of a franchise. They took a World Series away from my favorite team while they were cheating, and I will never forgive them for it, as should nobody. Nobody should forgive the Houston Astros for what they did. I get the sign stealing, is pretty widely done in most sports and all these things like that, but they took it to a whole other level with the trash can and the dugout garbage. I will never, ever be okay with anybody trying to give any of those teams any merit for what they did during that run. But I'll end on that, you guys. Thanks so much for tuning in live. If you have not done so, please make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel. God bless and good night.